In 1960, one country's average citizen was consuming more alcohol than any population in recorded history. Not a rounding error, not a statistical quirk. The number is 18.4 liters of pure alcohol per person per year. That includes every infant, every elderly person, every person who never touched a drink. The actual adult average was higher. And by 2100, that same country won't appear anywhere near the top of this chart. This is the race for the world's highest alcohol consumption, from 1960 to 2100. And the country leading in 2100 is not the one leading in 1960. Watch very carefully. In 1960, France is at the top, 17.3 liters of pure alcohol per person. Luxembourg, Portugal, Italy, Switzerland, the entire top 15 is Southern and Western Europe. Wine cultures going back 1,000 years. Countries where wine was poured automatically at every meal without anyone counting it as drinking. Russia does not appear in the top 10. This will change dramatically. Watch France through the 1970s. By 1970, France hits its absolute peak, 18.4 liters, the single highest national average in this entire 140-year data set. No country before or since has matched it. But something is happening that the chart doesn't show. French doctors are raising serious alarms. The connection between chronic wine consumption and liver disease is becoming undeniable. A quiet public health movement is forming that will take decades to register, but will eventually transform the entire chart. Through 1980, 1990, France begins to fall. Not dramatically, gradually, but the direction is unmistakable. And as France falls, watch what is rising in Eastern Europe. The Soviet Union collapses in 1991. What follows across Eastern Europe and the former Soviet states is an economic catastrophe for many people, and a surge in alcohol consumption that public health researchers would later describe as one of the most severe alcohol crises in modern history. Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Lithuania, these countries accelerate through the 1990s in a way that surprises every analyst watching the data. By 2000, the top of this chart no longer looks like a Mediterranean wine map. Eastern Europe and the former Soviet states have moved to the top. The drama here is extraordinary. Countries where economic despair and alcohol consumption moved in lockstep for over a decade. But watch what happens next in the 2000s and 2010s. Russia introduces aggressive anti-alcohol policies, minimum pricing, restrictions on where and when alcohol can be sold, public health campaigns, heavy taxation. The Russian government, looking at the mortality data, treats alcohol consumption as a national security problem. And the data responds. Russia starts falling. Meanwhile, something surprising is happening in countries nobody expected. Watch which country is accelerating through 2010, 2015, 2020. It is not the countries that have always led. It is not France. It is not Russia. The country making a quiet, consistent climb, fueled partly by economic growth and changing social habits, is not the obvious one. We're not going to tell you yet. Keep watching. Through 2030, 2040, 2050, the overall trend across wealthy countries is downward. Younger generations in France, Germany, the UK, and Scandinavia are drinking significantly less than their parents. The wine at every meal culture of 1960s France is almost unrecognizable to people born after 1990. By 2060 and 2070, the global map of alcohol consumption has completely reorganized. The countries at the top in 2100 share almost no overlap with the countries at the top in 1960. And the country leading in 2100? Czech Republic. Not France, not Russia, not Germany. The Czech Republic, the world's largest per capita beer-consuming nation for over 20 years running, holds the top position. Its combination of deeply embedded beer culture, relatively stable consumption habits, and slower adoption of the global sobriety trends that transform other wealthy countries leaves it at number 1 in a world where most developed nations are drinking significantly less. Germany holds second, Ireland third, Austria and Luxembourg round out the top 5. France, the country that started this race at number 1 with the most extreme consumption ever recorded, is nowhere near the top in 2100. The lesson of 140 years of alcohol data: the extremes always moderate. The cultures that consume the most eventually faced medical reality. But the habits embedded the deepest, beer cultures in Central Europe, proved the most resilient. Which country surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. And subscribe to @rankthestats. We post a new data race every week.